In the last few years, I've really taken a liking to using houseplants in my aquariums for their benefits in removing harmful chemicals from the water produced by fish waste, and for the beautiful look they provide to a tank. Their roots reach right down into the water, giving a natural aesthetic. When I moved homes at the end of last year, I wanted to bring a slice of nature into my house, and decided a tank in the living room would be the best place for this. However, I didn't want to create an additional job for myself with the general maintenance and upkeep that comes with a conventional aquarium. So I had the idea to make a no water change tank by using houseplants to naturally remove the bad chemicals, thereby eliminating the need to manually change the water. In this video, I'll reveal the 6-month story of how I made this beautiful houseplant filtered aquarium display for my living room. For this tank, I bought this cheap pine cabinet. The wood was unfinished, so I gave it a sand and a varnish. This will help to preserve the cabinet if any water splashes on it. I also decided to paint the back of this tank. I just used some cheap spray paint to do this. For this build, I went out to my local creek and collected some hardscape, as well as some substrate. Then it was time to put this all together.
So you want to start with the brackets and get that piece of wood up?
Yeah, we'll measure that.
Yeah.
For this build, I asked my good friend Jason from Australian Biotopes to give me a hand. He has far more experience than me setting up aquariums, and I figured I could use a hand with some of his expertise. To make this tank a little bit more natural, we decided to hang a piece of driftwood above it, where we could attach the lights and grow the houseplants onto.
You hold it with one hand there.
Yeah, I'll hold it.
You got to hold it with that.
Do you want me to?
That look good?
Yeah, that'll look good.
Look straight?
Yeah.
Hold that for me. Hopefully it looks good.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Ready?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's pretty cool.
that looks awesome.
Just don't like that how it's on an angle.
We can quickly fix that.
Maybe you won't notice, you won't see it, but if we cut like that much off it,
Oh, how?
with the angle grinder.
Okay. That's much better.
Better?
Way better. Way better.
Yeah, it almost looks perfect.
So much better. So
Now I'll screw that in, eh? So it stays on there.
that'll definitely grow that pothos and shit everywhere though.
Put it in so it. There.
Yep.
That's better.
Pretty awesome.
With the lights and driftwood in place, it was time to work on the inside of the tank. We started by laying a base layer of geofabric.
So what's the point of this stuff?
I'll just stop scratching the bottom of that a little bit. Just to protect the tank a little bit. You don't have to use it, but we're putting all those big rocks and sand and everything in, so
It just protects it.
yeah, it just cushions it a little bit.
Do you reckon this will break down eventually in the tank, or?
It'll break down. They use it for drainage and stuff like that. I've actually pulled it out and it's been matted with roots growing through it.
Oh yeah.
So now it's safe to put those big rocks in.
After this, it was time to start adding some of the bigger rocks, which we'd use as the base platform for this tank.
So, do you want like everything to kind of come into the middle?
Yeah, so like dips in.
Yeah.
But it'll all be built up as well.
Yeah.
Just got to find a few big rocks first. See, that one's tilting back, so when I fill that up with sand, it'll actually anchor the other ones in.
This is when I started to see some of that expertise really showing with Jason.
So we'll have the big rocks on the edge, and then go in with the medium ones.
Yeah. And now, clean some of the clean gravel, the good gravel, put that at the front, and we start building up the back with the waste gravel.
Okay. You just keep doing that till it goes clear?
Yep. Good enough, a spare bucket there,
Yeah.
empty one.
Yeah.
You see that bloody geo fabric? You don't have to put it in, but you don't see it, and it just gives that little bit of added protection.
Yeah.
Like those rocks, you would have been moving those rocks around, you would have been all scratches. It doesn't matter because you're never going to see the scratches, but if you're moving rocks around that size and they're scratching, all you need to do is tap the glass just a little bit, and and then crack. You know what I mean? And once you crack it, I mean, it very rarely happens, but it could happen. That's the scary part about it.
It's awesome. You won't know until you get those rocks wet as well.
Yeah, the colours come out of those rocks really nice.
Those rocks are the same type of rock.
Yeah.
Like it's a gravel.
Yep.
I hate these little white pieces.
Yeah, I always pick them out, those little bits of quartz and that, because when you've got the light on in the tank, especially when you're trying to film, they glare. Especially if you're a photographer and you photograph tanks, you don't want that sort of thing in the tank. So I always pick them out usually. Now, we'll have to put more sand here, but for now, what I'm trying to do is fill up all those little gaps to stop any of that other sand that we're putting in the background here.
Okay.
Come out. So it's just like a bit of a. So see how the rocks are moving back now. But when I start putting this stuff in, it'll anchor itself. But it'll stop the other sand coming through. But this filler bedding sand is really good for sitting your rocks and that on.
Yeah.
And getting your rocks into place and that because it's smooth. And also if you're growing plants, the plants grow really well on it too. So it doesn't matter if it mixes in with this a little bit. It'll eventually disappear. Filling any gaps because if there's any air pockets, that's why sometimes I even fill it up a couple of times a little bit just to press it down in properly.
Yeah.
Fill up all those air pockets and then drain it again. So you see how there's a gap between that rock there?
Yeah.
You won't be able to push sand in there, but once you put the water in there, it's going to fill up that gap straight away.
And then what do you want to do with the wood?
Okay. The wood, as I step it up, you put the wood in the cracks of the rocks. So it looks like it's coming out of the grooves. So it actually looks like it's naturally coming out.
Yeah.
You know, like how we've seen it at the creek?
Yeah.
And basically what I'm doing is I'm making that next layer level with those rocks, so I've got another bed to lay rocks on.
Ah.
See? That's why the first
So
lot
you
of
can
rocks.
stack it all the way up, kind of.
Yeah, that's why the first lot of rocks you put out further,
I was going to ask you why you were putting it.
not up against the wall.
Yeah.
See, because now I've got another firm base to lay rocks on and they'll balance on there nicely. And then when you lay it all together, it'll be like a jigsaw puzzle and it locks into place. Then what you're going to do is start finding rocks that might fit into place and try and stagger them a little bit. And then you get nice overhangs and that too.
So a crayfish could hide in those gaps underneath.
Yeah. And don't worry if you've got little gaps because we can fill them up with little rocks too to make it look not so uniform, if you know what I mean. And then sometimes you even get longer rocks like this that might fit into a spot like that and actually look more natural too. And it actually, because it's going all the way to the back, it will get anchored in when the next lot comes in. See?
Yeah.
Like that. And then you put the next lot on that, it'll anchor them in nicely.
Yeah.
So you like rather than putting it long ways like that, put it like that. It'll
Yeah.
anchor in better. So
Ah.
how's that looking?
Awesome. Yeah, that one's awesome.
Something like that rock there would be nice if it was sitting on, but
Yeah, like look like it's growing down it. Oi. I love how that one bends around.
yeah, but see, because it's like that,
You can bend it in. How's that for real?
see? And then now that we know what it looks like, we can actually put rocks in behind that and those rocks will be anchored in by the wood too.
Yeah.
You'll see what I mean in a minute.
Alright.
I'll quickly go and cut that. Just wait up here, I'll cut it and bring it back up and you'll see.
Alright.
Put that back in there. See, I cut it on an angle as well, so that. See?
Ah.
Once you put it in there, it'll actually drop back. You're not going to see any freaking shit light through it or anything, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you always paint your tanks?
Yeah. I'm even going to paint those. I never used to paint those ones that I used to do the things in, but I'm going to paint them now. Because if there's any little gaps, now you might not even see that root, but it's there, you know what I mean?
It's just detail.
Yeah. Alright, now we need more sand.
So what are you going to do here?
I'm going to put some more sand in the front to fill the front up how it was supposed to be, remember?
Yeah. And it looks like it's growing down that rock.
Yeah, exactly.
For this tank, I decided to use a canister filter. People who watch my channel would normally know me to use sponge filters, but having this tank in my living room, I didn't want some loud bubbling going on. So I decided to use a canister filter, as it wouldn't make much noise, and the room would still feel peaceful.
Are you just going to fill that back bit in with dirt then?
Yep.
Or sand, I mean?
Yep.
Imagine the crays in here.
I should love it.
That does look really good there.
What's your favourite size of tank to work on?
2 foot wide, but like 3 foot's good because if they're any bigger than 3 foot, if you're filming them, 3 foot's good size. It's almost like 1080p.
Okay.
So you got the depth, but you also got the nice size.
It's gonna look like that's the tree roots and the plants are like.
Yeah.
So you've got like another bit of space here, and then you pack that in to make another top layer.
Yeah.
So you can go even higher.
Yeah, I can go all the way to the top if I want to.
Is there any dangers with doing this?
No. It's all anchored in.
So you happy with that?
Yeah, I might just cap that up with some smaller rock now like that, so your filtration you can get some filtration of that in there. But also when you put those plants at the back, the roots can grow in and you'll have a nice root. Not quite finished yet, but it's getting there.
What do you do?
Just throw some of these little ones in there like to fill in these little gaps.
How'd you learn how to do this? Just years of
Just practicing that, I suppose. Like heaps of fucking trial and error. Seeing what works and what doesn't.
Yep.
We need a bit more of that rough sand.
Yep. I was amazed at how easily he did this. You nervous?
Why?
This.
No, it's not my tank.
So what are you doing?
Let's see how it's all coming out, the sides.
Wait.
This is the scary part. See how that sand down the bottom's all leaking out the bottom?
Yep.
That's what the worry part about it is.
I love that wood up the top.
And you can tilt those lights back a little bit too.
Yeah.
So, a bit like that, so the light in your eyes like that.
Do you reckon my Leporinas could go in here?
Yeah, put a couple of blue caras in there as well.
Yeah.
But if you put your front glass on, see it splashing here,
Yeah.
go and grab your 2 front glasses and put them on.
Alright.
But you like hang some nice little bits up here.
And what, do you reckon just give it a quick spray every now and then?
Yeah, just give it a spray.
Yeah.
And then you have your plants growing over it.
I decided to use some egg crate to make a lid for this tank. This is because I could easily jam the stems of the plants through it. To finish off the hardscape, we added some natural botanicals to the bottom of the tank. These will break down over time and actually help the tank a lot. Plus, they make it look like it's pulled straight out of the wild. This is a finishing touch I don't see enough aquascapers do in my opinion. So yeah, look at this app. Look at this app, and then I just go. How cool does that look? There's even little pieces of Fireman's moss in all
Yeah,
that.
so it might be
It'll
alright.
grow.
I don't know.
I reckon it'll
We
grow.
boiled it, but
Not true.
well, I've got more stuff here anyway.
Can't wait till it gets that aged look though.
And then what I do is I lay plants on it,
Yeah.
and they grow into the water.
That's what's gonna happen with the pothos.
Yeah.
I think I'm just gonna do really natural. I'm not gonna put any less like Snow White pothos or anything on it. It'll ruin it.
No, better off just put
Just do
green.
green. When I originally set this tank up, I decided it was going to be a tank for some mountain crayfish I'd collected. So we set up the tank according to this, by adding some very simple mosses to the tank.
It looks messy for a little while
I'm not really worried.
until it gets itself settled and starts growing, attaching itself and growing.
We then added the yabbies. Which turned out to be a huge mistake. They quickly made themselves at home and started to burrow underneath the rocks.
Kind of cool, eh? Like little bulldozers. Yeah, how cool's that look?
I even caught one molting. And that was pretty much it for the setup. Only a week later, after adding the crayfish, I noticed they'd climbed all out of the tank. I found them all over my living room, and I'll save you guys the images of this. I was devastated to say the least, and decided that I needed to pivot. This was no longer going to be a crayfish tank for me. So I went and grabbed some of my nicest plants from the fish room and decided to plant this tank out and turn it more into like a little creek. The plants looked beautiful, and I knew that when they grew in, it'd look even better. With the crayfish gone and the plants in place, all we needed was some time, just to let everything grow in. I set this tank up right before I went away for a month. And while I was gone, I ran into another bump in my road. In the first week of me being gone, the tank tripped and the lights went off and the canister filter went off. So the tank didn't have any lights or filtration for an entire month. The plants suffered to say the least, and when I came home, to make things worse, I noticed one single crayfish still in here. He was happily feasting on all of the expensive plants I had in here, and the tank had not grown as much as I thought it would in this time. So we had to go, and with great difficulty, I finally caught him.
Finally. He destroyed it. Jerk. This little jerk ruined my scape, but he can go out in the backyard and chill out with his friends.
After this, I left the tank and plants to grow in for a little bit longer before I decided to add some fish. And another 50 days later, the tank was overtaken by algae. But the houseplants had settled in beautifully, with the philodendrons and the pothos taking over. You can see they sent down tons of roots and started to give me the natural look I was going for. The plants were doing okay, especially now they weren't being eaten by crayfish, but they could still do it a little bit better with less algae. I scratched down the front of the tank. There was algae everywhere. It had truly taken over. Upon closer inspection, I noticed some little critters in here, which had likely come in on the botanicals we added earlier, like these little limpets. They are harmless to the tank, and in fact, they're actually beneficial for helping turn this tank into a little ecosystem. It was time to add some creatures in here. I started by adding some cherry shrimp. These would colonize the tank and help deal with our algae problem. Plus, they're super cute, and they act as excellent detritivores to help break down the organics in here. I also added some hillstream loaches in here. I wouldn't see these much, but they're super cute and are also great bottom feeders. Then, for the main body of water, I added some luminatus and some praecox rainbow fish, two of my favourite from the fish room. I actually bred all of the fish that I added in here, and the shrimp, which was super rewarding. They settled in pretty much straight away. I also added some otocinclus and a peppermint catfish to help with our algae problem. A few days later, everyone had settled down and were all acting as natural as they could be. I knew this tank would only get better with time, so I left it for 4 more months.